Things are just a bit different today than they were just a few years ago. Technology continues to advance at a staggering pace. Consumer behaviors have once again shifted, and oh yeah, there was that little pandemic we went through too. And though we finally seem to be normalizing the impact by the shutdown, changes in behavior and habits will have lasting effects, especially for industries like trucking. For Randall Reilly, I'm Joshua Miller, and this is the Recruiting Roundup. It's been a long couple years, hasn't it? We've been through a lot, but it seems like we made it. Just recently, the World Health Organization even downgraded the pandemic, saying it no longer qualifies as a global emergency. So, hey, we got that going for us, which is nice. Know what else is nice? Likes, shares, and subscriptions. So if you like our content here, would you do me a kindness? Go ahead and click that thumb to like it, share the video to someone else who you think might find it useful, and subscribe so you never miss on our new content. Now, if you'd like to talk to someone here at Randall Reilly about how we can help you meet your recruiting or really any other goals you may have, let us know. Click the consultation link in the description on YouTube, or you can fill out the form right below the video here if you're watching us on our site. Now, back to the Recruiting Roundup, already in progress. The pandemic is sorta officially over. Yay! Unfortunately, it took quite a while to get to this point, and many lives, businesses, and entire industries were turned upside down, trucking included. For instance, in 2020 alone, more than 88,000 trucking industry jobs were lost. It's not great. But it gets worse, as more than 3,000 trucking companies, well, they shut down completely. Those are some big numbers to wrap your head around. And though we are now seemingly on the upswing, it's not like things can go back to the way they were pre-pandemic. Trucking itself has been changed forever. The ATA summarizes the pandemic and its effect on the industry into 3 phases: initial disruption, the recovery, and the transformation. Those fleet shutdowns and job losses I mentioned just a moment ago, well, they would fall into the initial disruption phase. When things began to normalize and demand for essential goods began to rise, there was intense pressure put on the supply chain and trucking industry in particular to kick back into full gear. They categorize this as the recovery phase. And finally, we get to where we are now, the transformation phase. Because of the supply chain disruptions, changes in consumer purchasing patterns, and shifts in technology, trucking now faces the daunting task of keeping up with these changes and transforming itself to meet the current needs. Transformation phase? Hey, that's why they call it that. The increased demand for essential goods, which exploded during the pandemic and persists to this day, has helped to fuel the need for growth, with experts predicting the trucking industry to grow by almost 4.5% over the 5-year period from 2021 to 2026. The consumer shift to e-commerce has also led to major increases in demand for last-mile delivery. In 2020, e-commerce sales grew by over 32%, and it doesn't look like it's slowing down. So, even though purchasing behaviors have changed, it looks like trucking is sitting pretty, right? I mean, even if people are shopping online more, they still need those goods delivered. Problem is the pesky old driver shortage. According to the ATA, the trucking industry faced a shortage of about 60,000 drivers in 2018, and that was before the pandemic hit and nudged many veteran drivers into an early retirement. Then there's also the fuel factor. Drivers are now paying around 72 cents more per gallon than they were just a few years ago, and this increase puts a major crunch on owner-ops that make it even harder than ever for them to stay profitable, and has led many of those drivers to be forced out of the industry altogether. So, what's trucking to do? What can trucking do? Well, it must continue to do what it's basically been doing forever, but especially over the last few years. Change and adapt to the needs of the moment. I mean, would anybody have believed that a pretty sizable number of fleets would offer virtual orientations just a few years ago? But it's what worked, and it's what was needed at a time when in-person orientations were far less desirable and in some cases, simply not possible. So the industry adapted. And now, with more and more older drivers leaving the industry every day, the next big challenge facing trucking is figuring out how to attract and retain younger drivers. Drivers that will hopefully stick around long enough to one day become those veteran drivers themselves. Now, we've already seen shifts in pay and benefits, bigger sign-on bonuses, and technological upgrades like the ELD, telematics, and GPS tracking, with many of those changes becoming even more dramatic and prevalent throughout the pandemic years. Autonomous trucks are also inching closer and closer to becoming a real game changer, though it does remain to be seen if those driverless trucks can clear the bureaucratic hurdles in some states like California. But one way or another, times they are changing. Now the question facing fleets is, what are the next changes for them? What new wrinkles to the plan can be added to entice those younger drivers? Sounds a little daunting, right? Well, the good news is you don't have to go it alone. Our team here at Randall Reilly will be there. with all the tools and experience we've built up over a very long time to help you navigate the ins and outs of the ever-changing landscape of recruiting, safety, sales, brokerage, and really any other areas you may have to deal with. The one thing that I can definitively say is there is no going back. Trucking will never be quite like it was prior to 2020. It can't be. The pandemic changed everything, and some things will never go back to being normal. But with any luck, the trucking industry will forge ahead and create the next new normal. Join us next time as we take another look at a trucking topic. We look forward to seeing you then. Thanks for watching.